The hidden footage of Max Verstappen's shocking Dutch Grand Prix accident that everyone claims was leaked is actually the exact same live broadcast feed Formula 1. Published officially, and by the end of this video you will know precisely why that distinction matters for understanding what really happened at Zandvoort. We are going to break down every frame of that Turn 14 impact, verify exactly what the cameras captured versus what the rumors say they captured, and explain why the narrative of suppressed evidence completely falls apart when you look at the confirmed timeline of his final home race before his contract extension through 2030. But before we get to the definitive proof that settles the leak debate once and for all, there's a much more uncomfortable question hanging over this entire weekend that nobody in the paddock seems willing to answer directly on camera. If this was truly just a standard driving error on a damp track as the official reports suggest, why did the visual evidence of how the car behaved in those split seconds before the wall impact seem to tell a slightly different story about the margin for error he was actually working with? Max Verstappen arrived at Zandvoort carrying the weight of expectation that only a home crowd can generate, wearing a special helmet and suit prepared specifically for what multiple outlets including GP fans and Red Bull's own materials described as the last Dutch GP currently scheduled. He had just secured his future with the team through the end of the decade, yet within moments of the race starting, that celebration turned into a retirement that left fans staring at a crumpled RB22 against the outside barrier. The crash triggered an immediate red flag on lap 1, freezing the entire field while marshals worked to clear debris and assess the damage to the SA Fear barrier at the Luijendijk corner. This was not a mechanical failure or contact with another driver, but a single-car incident where Verstappen touched the white line on the inside of the banking while running in 7th position behind Hamilton's Ferrari. The track surface remained deceptively damp in that specific section despite drying conditions elsewhere, creating a trap that even a 3-time champion could not navigate safely. He lost the rear of the car instantly upon contacting the painted line, spearing across the circuit and sliding back onto the racing line with one wheel completely torn off from the force of the impact. Liam Lawson in the sister Red Bull car and several others had to take drastic evasive action to avoid the wreckage, with Gabriel Bortoledo spinning while dodging debris before eventually recovering to finish 13th. Yet amidst the chaos and the subsequent flood of social media posts claiming exclusive angles were being suppressed, the reality is far less conspiratorial and far more technical. So where does that leave us regarding the truth of what the cameras actually showed versus what people believe they saw? The timing of this incident adds a layer of narrative complexity that goes beyond simple physics, because Verstappen had explicitly prepared for this specific weekend as a celebration of his long-term future with the team. Just days before taking to the track, his contract extension through 2030 was officially confirmed, locking him into the Red Bull garage for another 4 seasons and making this scheduled appearance at Zandvoort a symbolic milestone rather than just another race on the calendar. He walked into the paddock wearing a bespoke helmet design and a special race suit created solely for this occasion, signaling to the thousands of orange-clad fans in the grandstands that he intended to deliver a performance worthy of the moment. Instead, the weekend became defined by a single lap where preparation met unpredictability in the most brutal way possible. Grip failed completely, the car snapped sideways, momentum took over. This sequence unfolded at the Luijendijk corner, a steeply banked turn 14 that leads directly onto the main straight and demands absolute commitment even in perfect conditions. Cars carry immense speed through this section, relying on the banking to generate downforce and maintain trajectory, which leaves virtually zero margin for error when surface consistency is compromised. Verstappen was running in 7th position at the moment of impact, tucked directly behind Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari and trying to settle into a rhythm after the chaotic opening moments of the race. The rest of the circuit had begun to dry following pre-race showers, creating a false sense of security that made the residual dampness at the final corner even more treacherous for drivers pushing the limit. He touched the white line on the inside of the banking, a painted surface that offers significantly less grip than asphalt even when bone dry, and in these mixed conditions it acted like ice under high load. Have you ever wondered how quickly a driver's brain processes the difference between a safe acceleration zone and a trap, when visual cues contradict physical feedback? Verstappen later explained in the post-race press conference that he saw what appeared to be a dry patch approaching the exit of the corner and committed to the throttle based on that visual information. But the surface was still wet beneath that apparent dry line, and the sudden application of power broke traction before he could correct the slide. This was not a mechanical failure or a setup issue, but a misjudgment of marginal grip levels in a location where mistakes are punished with immediate violence against the barrier. The car speared into the outside wall with enough force to tear off a wheel, then slid back across the track in a cloud of carbon fiber debris that forced Liam Lawson and Gabriel Bortoledo into emergency avoidance maneuvers. So where does that leave us right now regarding the official classification of this incident? It stands as a pure racing accident with no steward's investigation required, yet the emotional weight of it landing during his contract celebration week transforms it from a statistical DNF into something far heavier for everyone involved. Picture this for a second. You are scrolling through social media feeds flooded with thumbnails promising exclusive angles that officials supposedly tried to bury. But when you actually trace those clips back to their source, every single frame matches the official Formula One race feed that was broadcast live to millions of viewers in real time. There is no hidden camera angle, no suppressed onboard footage, and no secret selector 4D view that reveals a different truth than what we all watched unfold on Sunday afternoon. The viral narrative of leaked evidence is entirely constructed from the same publicly available video that showed Verstappen running 7th behind Hamilton's Ferrari as he approached the banked final corner for the last time in this scheduled Dutch Grand Prix. What people are calling new information is simply the existing broadcast repackaged with sensational captions to exploit the emotional weight of a home crowd watching their hero crash during his contract celebration weekend. No secret exists, only repackaged broadcast, same public feed. The official footage clearly documents the exact moment his right rear tire contacted the white line on the inside banking, triggering an instantaneous loss of lateral grip that no amount of steering input could recover. The car rotated violently toward the outside wall while still carrying significant forward momentum, resulting in an impact severe enough to shear the wheel assembly clean off the hub before the chassis slid backward across the asphalt. This sequence was captured by multiple trackside cameras positioned specifically to cover the Luyendyk corner exit, and none of them show anything that contradicts the driving error explanation Verstappen himself provided after stepping out of the wreckage. So why does the rumor of hidden footage persist so stubbornly despite being verifiably false? Because accepting that a champion simply misread a damp patch of track feels less satisfying than believing there is some deeper mystery being concealed from public view. But here is where the actual story gets more interesting than the fabricated conspiracy. Verstappen had commented before the race even started that the final corner was quite wet, demonstrating he knew exactly where the danger zone was located and still fell victim to it anyway. That pre-race remark transforms the crash from an unexpected surprise into a known risk that materialized precisely as anticipated, which raises uncomfortable questions about how drivers manage acknowledged hazards under competitive pressure. The live broadcast showed him navigating that same section successfully during formation laps and earlier stints, meaning the hazard was visible and avoidable until the specific combination of position, throttle application, and surface condition aligned against him on lap 1. Every major outlet, including GP Fans, Motorsport.com, and Speedcast, covered this incident immediately using the same official footage, with zero references to any alternative visual evidence or suppressed angles in their reporting. The leak framing is pure clickbait architecture built on top of a completely transparent incident that unfolded in full view of the world. Here is why this actually matters. The difference between walking away from a high-speed barrier impact and being stretchered to the medical center often comes down to single-digit G-force margins that separate routine incidents from career-altering trauma. Verstappen climbed out of the damaged RB22 under his own power, a visual confirmation of safety that mattered more to the watching crowd than any official bulletin could provide. Over team radio, he immediately confirmed his condition by apologizing and acknowledging the end of his race, signaling both physical awareness and instant frustration at letting down the home fans who had gathered specifically to celebrate him. Later in the post-race press conference, he revealed that the recorded G-force reading stayed below the 15G threshold that triggers mandatory FIA medical evaluation, meaning the deceleration forces absorbed by his body remained within acceptable safety parameters despite the violent appearance of the crash. He was unhurt. No hospital visit, cleared immediately. When asked directly about the severity of the impact, Verstappen offered a technical insight that only someone who has experienced multiple barrier contacts can articulate, explaining that he likely hit the safer barrier frontally and that such an angle is actually preferable to a sideways strike. A frontal impact distributes deceleration forces through the car's designated cross structures and the driver's harness system in a controlled manner, whereas lateral impacts concentrate energy through the monocoque side panels and the driver's spine with far less protective material in between. This distinction transforms what looked like a terrifying moment into a demonstration of modern F1 safety engineering working exactly as designed during his final scheduled appearance at Zandvoort. So where does that leave us regarding concerns about his fitness for upcoming races? Completely resolved since he required no medical intervention and returned to normal duties immediately after the incident. Remember how this all started, with claims of hidden footage suggesting something sinister was being concealed about this crash, when in reality the most important data point was the publicly confirmed G-force reading that proved he walked away safely. That opening promise of resolving the leak narrative now connects directly to the human outcome, because the real story was never about suppressed video, but about a driver experiencing a known hazard and surviving it thanks to safety systems that performed precisely as engineered. The emotional weight of his contract celebration week crashing literally and figuratively against the Luyendyk wall is heavy enough without adding fabricated conspiracy to the mix. His own assessment that a frontal hit was better than sideways contact shows remarkable composure in the immediate aftermath, reinforcing that this was a racing incident processed by a professional rather than a mysterious event requiring alternative explanations. Verstappen left zero room for alternative theories during the post-race press conference on August 23rd, telling GP fans directly that he got caught out because the corner was still quite wet and his decision to accelerate when spotting an apparent dry patch was simply too early. This verbatim admission strips away any remaining ambiguity about mechanical failure or external factors, placing the entire causality chain on a split-second throttle application judgment made under marginal grip conditions at the Luyendyk exit. He did not blame tire temperatures, engine mapping, or team strategy, but instead described a cognitive processing error where visual information about track surface contradicted physical reality in the exact moment commitment was required. The quote confirms this was a classic case of optimistic interpretation meeting unforgiving physics, a mistake that even drivers with his experience level can make when pushing limits on a drying circuit during the opening laps of a home race. His assessment was absolute, no deflection offered, pure accountability. This level of candor matters because it aligns perfectly with every independent analysis from outlets like Motorsport, Com, and Planet F1, which uniformly characterize the incident as a driving error rather than a car deficiency or strategic miscalculation.